Hello. Hi, good evening. Hi, Ethan. I'm gonna wait a little while more for others to come in. Today I'm going to talk about tips for job seeker. I forgot today is a public holiday, but I've already scheduled a live, so that's why I'm here. Ethan, are you in Singapore? Hi. Hi. I'm Samantha. Thanks for coming into the room. Hello. Hi. Today I'm going to talk about tips for job seeker. So if let's say you are currently job seeking or thinking of job seeking, or you have friends who are job seeking, invite them in. Okay, we're going to have some conversation. I can answer some questions. Right, so do share this video. Hello 小小虾, hello Pratamin. I suppose you like to eat prata. Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I'm a career success coach. I'm based in Singapore. So today's session is going to be 1 hour as per usual. So I'm going to talk about tips for job seekers. So if you have any friends who are currently job seeking or job seeking yourself or possibly be job seeking, perhaps this will be a session for you to hang around. And if you have any question, you can feel free to drop in your questions and comments and I will answer them, right? Hi Tony. Hello. If you're in Singapore, hi. I hope you had a good holiday, good long weekend. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Yeah. Hi plastic rope. Stephen. Hello. Welcome in. So today's session is going to be an hour as per usual, right? So I'm going to talk about tips for job seeking. Alright, so if yourself, you are currently job seeking or you have friends who are job seeking, perhaps this is something that you can share with them so that if they have any question, this will be a good time to ask. So myself, I'm a career coach, so I work with a lot of professionals in terms of career transition, career positioning. So perhaps I can offer you 1 or 2 cents worth of insight, right? Hi Eunice. Hi Jeremy. Hi Ishakila. Ivan, hello, thanks for coming in. So today's topic, we are going to talk about tips for job seeking. Any one of you who are tuning in right now, you are job seeking or going to be job seeking or have friends who are job seeking, so perhaps this will be a good time for us to have a conversation. Hi Elvin. Okay, stay on. Okay, today I'm going to talk about tips for job seekers. Alright, so if you are job seeking, perhaps this session is for you. Hi Ting. Hi Raman. Just waiting for people to stream in. Okay, so I actually conducted 3 live sessions over the past 10 days. The first live session that I conducted, I was talking about anything under the sun about career. And then Friday, the few days ago, I was talking about career wellness. Alright, so today I'm going to talk about tips for job seekers. Now, if you are interested to listen to the previous 2, I have already downloaded the video and you can watch the replay on YouTube. Alright, so I've uploaded the video to YouTube. So where do you find the YouTube? Very easy, you just have to go to my profile. Now, when you go to my profile, you can click follow me. Alright, and then over there's my social link, right? So the social link is where you can find the various links to YouTube or LinkedIn, where you can find me easily on various social media. So I've uploaded the videos onto YouTube so you can watch the replay. So if you're interested to, just understand what is career wellness, I have that video. Today I'm going to talk about job seeking. Now, any one of y'all who are currently job seeking right now and you have questions, this is the time for you to drop into the chat, and then I will read your chat and then I will do my best to reply from my perspective and from my experience working with so many professionals in the current workforce right now, where a lot of people are moving, right? moving around. So if you all have heard about it, there is this 3 greats, GREAT. So they have the Great Resignation, they have the Great Reshuffle, and then you have the Great Reset. Okay, so maybe I need to reorder it. Alright, so you have the Great Reset, followed by the Great Resignation, followed by the Great Reshuffle. So the Great Reset was triggered during COVID time, alright, so around 2020, around Q2, Q3 of 2020, whereby it started in US, alright, because of COVID, alright, it actually, changed the way we work. So that's why you have a lot of things like future of work, Industry Revolution 4.0. So there's a great reset to how we work. So they call it the Great Reset. Now with Great Reset coming in, right, people are starting to reevaluate what does career mean to them. How do they want to treat work or their relationship with their career? Alright, so that's where you come to this point called the Great Resignation. So perhaps you have heard of this term. Actually, this term started last year, alright, in the States, but then I think only in Asia context we start to hear it about end of last year or beginning of this year. Right, so the Great Resignation is whereby people are trying to, move out of their current job and perhaps seeking a role whereby it will fulfill more of their needs. So I talk about career wellness, so y'all can drop in to watch the replay again on YouTube. Alright, it was quite a comprehensive session that I shared about career wellness. So with Great Resignation, a lot of people are resigning, alright. Some people may be taking a break, some people may be looking for a job. So today's session is to address whoever who are currently job seeking. Alright, if you are currently going to be looking for a new job, okay, what do you look out for? What are some of the tips that you can have? I think this is a good session for me to share some tips so that you can get started. Alright, so I'm Samantha, I'm Singaporean and I'm based in Singapore. So I work with professionals across different industry and different levels in terms of career planning, career management. Alright, so I think I will not be able to share with you tips that is 100% foolproof. There's no such thing as 100% foolproof. But then again, there are some good market practices that you should have when it comes to job seeking. Alright, so we're going to kickstart today's session with what is the first thing that you need to have as a job seeker. Now, if let's say currently, whether you are in a job or you are serving your notice or you are out of job, I think the very first thing that you probably need to sit down to do is to really have a clear idea of where you want to take your career to. Alright, you need to have a clear clarity when it comes to your career. What is the direction? Why do I say that? Now, a lot of people, they will just think that, oh, I quit and then I find a job. It's very easy. But the thing is, the process of finding a job, it can be quite tedious for some people. It can be quite frustrating, right? So nobody likes to go through the cycle of quitting a job, finding a job, and then going through interviews, round after rounds, getting rejection, getting ghosted by recruiters, and no response from company, and then the whole cycle is it can be very draining. Alright, so job searching itself is a full-time job. Alright, so the first thing that you really need to do if you are really on the lookout right now is really sit down. I know it's uncertain, it's very uncertain times right now, right? Looking at how interesting the world is no longer called a VUCA world, it's a hyper VUCA world already. Alright, so what you really need to do is sit down, alright, and be very clear of what is the next step of your career. And your next job that you're going to take on should lead you to should be a springboard for you. Should be a springboard for you to the next role and the next role. Alright, so it will be good if you ideally have an idea of where you want to go. What are some of the career values, career interests that you want to have in your next job. So sit down with yourself, alright, take out a piece of paper, a pen, right? Hello Pearly. Alright, so I'm very old school, alright, so you can use technology, you can type it up, but nothing beats seeing it very visual. So take a piece of paper, take a pen, and start writing a few things down. Number one, what is your career? What is your career direction? That means to say, what do you want to achieve in your career in the next perhaps 3 years, 5 years? What do you envision yourself to be doing in the job? Alright, that's the first question. Now the second question to gain some clarity is what is the kind of environment that you like to be in? Okay, so the kind of environment is very important, because a lot of times a lot of my clients leave a job is not because of salary, but it's because of the environment, it's because of the culture, the people. Alright, so you need to be very sure of what is the culture that you enjoy to be in. Is it some people, they enjoy working in a very systematic organization. There must be very clear protocols. Some people don't like, alright, some people prefer a very dynamic environment, very flat hierarchy, things like that. Alright, so the very first thing foremost is understand the kind of environment that you prefer. Okay, so your career direction, your career goals, the culture. Okay, what kind of culture, the type of organization, is it an MNC, is it a startup, is it a SME, is it a medium-sized company, must it be of a certain size or what's not. Okay, so the type of organization does matter quite a fair bit, because different types of organization, they have different culture as well. Alright, so understand the culture that you like. You also need to figure out what kind of industry and what kind of sector you want to be in. Alright, so ideally you want to be in a sector whereby you are able to pivot easily. That means you can think of adjacent. So for example, Pearly mentioned he or she. I don't know whether you are he or she, but I'm just going to say you. Okay, you, Pearly. Okay, she mentioned that you work in F&B. So F&B is a sector. Now, should you want to change your career to a different industry, then you'll be looking at, is there adjacent industry? It could be the supplier, it could be the vendors. Alright, maybe you used to work on the client side, now you work on the supplier side. Alright, so you need to get creative when it comes to job search, right? So think about the type of organization, the type of industry. Alright, so just like I mentioned, career direction, that means the role itself. What kind of role do you see yourself doing? Okay, the type of organization, alright, and the type of industry. So get clear on that. If you are not clear on that, your job search journey is going to be very, very long, because you wouldn't have any clarity. If you do not have clarity, you're just going to anyhow apply, and then you won't get any good responses also, right? Alright, so first is get your clarity right. Okay, you realize that I didn't ask you to do resume yet, right? Resume comes later, because if you are not clear at the initial beginning, there's no point writing a resume, because your resume will have no direction. When someone reads your resume, they wouldn't know what your resume stands for. Alright, so I mentioned career direction, the type of industry, the type of organization. What you also need to understand is, you need to understand yourself. You need to, number one, understand what is your pay expectation also. You need to be clear with that. Because if, let's say, you are not clear about how much you are worth, no wonder you're going to just not be able to negotiate a good remuneration package. Alright, so you need to sit down and be clear of how much you are worth. If you do not know how much you are worth, do some market research. Alright, if let's say you want to be an accounting manager, okay, let's say you want to be a marketing manager, alright, so you got to ask yourself, hey, what is the market rate a marketing manager needs to have? Okay, what is the market rate? And then maybe you can also scale down to the type of industry. Maybe a marketing manager in the finance industry is different from a marketing manager in a non-profit organization. Alright, so you need to be clear, so you need to do some homework. Alright, okay, so you need to know your salary expectation. All these are important, because if you don't have this, there's no point jumping into the next job. Alright, so thank you everyone for streaming in. Today I am talking about tips for job seekers. So if you have any questions when it comes to job seeking, I think this is a very good time to have that interaction. So I do encourage you to drop comments or questions in the chat. I'm reading them. And then if you have friends who are also looking for jobs, I think you can share this with them. Previously, I talked about career wellness, and I've uploaded the replay session onto YouTube. Alright, so you can find that in my profile. Alright, so how long have I been a career coach? I've been a career coach for the past 3-4 years. Alright, but before that, I've always been in the adult training space. So I train sales professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners on soft skills. Communication, sales, negotiation is something that I do. Alright, then I also run my own business, so I'm also an entrepreneur myself. Alright, so I own a company in China. Alright, and I also have a company. I co-founded 2 companies in Singapore. They are still in operation. Alright, so that is a little bit background about myself. Alright, so any question? Okay, yeah. Alright, cool. So that is some tips when it comes to job seeking. Please gain some clarity because you don't want to quit and find a job all over again. It's very, very painful. Alright. Now, after you gain some clarity, alright, of yourself, alright, the next thing that you need to do is you need to gain clarity of the market. Alright, you need to understand what the market needs. Alright, so why do I say this thing is because a lot of times people are too self-absorbed in the skills and their experiences. You know, I've worked with clients from as young as 20 to as senior as 70 years old. Alright, so those who are more senior, sometimes they will come to me and say, you know, I have 30-40 years of experience. Alright, but I think the very important thing to take note is it's not just the years of experience, but it's also how relevant your experience is to today's context. So you need to be very aware of what the market needs. Alright, so if you have 30 years of experience printing documents, maybe in today's context it may not be so relevant anymore, right? So you need to make sure that the experience that you have, the skills that you have, you are able to connect the dots for your employer. Alright, if you can't connect the dots for them, they won't be able to see why you are a suitable fit for the company, why they should hire you. Okay, so that's what you need to do. You need to understand the market. So how can you understand the market, right? When it comes to understanding the market is very big. So to start off, okay, very simple step to start off is number one, understand how your industry is changing. Okay, so understand how healthcare is moving. And if you are in healthcare, understand how healthcare is moving. If you are in F&B, understand how the F&B scene is like. If you are in education, take a look at what is the education scene looking. If you are in the finance sector, what is happening in the finance world. So for you to start to understand what the market needs, you need to understand the industry movement. Alright, so start by understanding the industry that you are in or the industry that you want to move into. Okay, so that is very important. After you understand the industry, then you go down to understand the role. Okay, how is the role? Now, a company will need accountant. Any company will need accountant, right? But the accountant requirement now and the accountant requirement 10 years ago will be different. So you need to understand what is the requirement to be an accountant right now. Are there additional skills that you need to pick up? Are there additional gaps that you need to fill? Alright, so step one, personal clarity, your career clarity. Step two is market clarity. Figure out these two things, then we will move on to the next step. Alright, so I am speaking English. Do I sound like I'm speaking Dutch? Alright. Okay, let me see, is there any question? What is the most common quality employers look out for? I can't speak for all kind of industry, but they definitely look at two things. Okay, so two things that employers always look out for. Number one, competency. If I am going to hire you, I need to make sure you are competent for the role. Am I right? Even if you are not 100% competent, I need to be able to see that you have the potential to grow into the role that I hope to see you in. So that is to answer sim, right? So the first thing is you need to make sure you are competent. If you are not competent, no company is going to hire you because I'm paying you for your skills. I'm paying you to solve problems. Alright, so number one, competency is important, which means also to say you need to make sure that your skills are relevant, or you can make them see why your experience is relevant to the job that you are applying for. Now, the second thing that employers also look out for is your potential to grow with the company. Yeah, your potential to grow with the company. So even though we are no longer in the era whereby, you know, we stay in the company for all our lives, right? You know, like how our grandparents era, they can stay in the company for like 10, 20, 30 or even a lifetime. I'm not saying that we are talking about that right now, but at the end of the day, company will also want to see whether you have the potential to grow with the company, right? Meaning to say, are you a high risk employee? What is high risk employee? It means to say, if I were to hire you and invest in you, right, I'm spending time and resources, right, grooming you as a talent in a company. Will you job hop too quickly? Alright, so that is definitely something that they look out for also. Are you a high risk employee? Because they, after all, are investing in an individual. Alright, so yeah, that's the second thing. Of course, I think the other things will be attitude, are you able to be a good team player? I think this is this is things that everybody look out for, right? So I'm not going to specifically say that because I think those are quite common and basic stuff. But if I really have to nitpick two things that some people may not talk about, one is really the skills relevance. You must connect the dots for your employer. The other one is, are you a high risk employee? All right. Now, is hospitality a challenging sector? Well, it was, right? During COVID, hospitality, tourism, aviation are badly hit. Even supply chain is badly hit as well. Even up to now, supply chain is very much affected. Now, because of COVID, right, we realize how weak our supply chain is. So I'm not so sure which part of the world you are at right now, but in the context of Asia, okay, so Asia, when we first started in the 1960s and 1970s, we are where we are today is because of globalization. All right, so a lot of MNCs will come here to set up factories, because cost is cheap, labor is cheap, right? So we started off becoming a very vibrant Asia, as what you see now is because of globalization. Now, because of COVID, all right, we start to see how weak our supply chain is. What do I mean? Very simple. The moment we go into lockdown, a lot of things got cut off, right? Okay, so this is where people are starting to break away from globalization to go into this thing called deglobalization. And then a lot of like Western side of the world, like US, Europe, there are some big MNCs, the country is encouraging the company to do this thing called reshoring. Reshoring means bring the company back to their homeland and creating jobs for their own people instead. All right, so this is what we are witnessing right now. Whether hospitality will be a challenging sector, I believe for every sector there will be a cycle. Okay, so oil and gas have its cycle, but unfortunately oil and gas is going on the downhill right now. Supply chain is going through a rehaul, a lot of restructuring inside because of this globalization and deglobalization thing. Hospitality will, I believe, is starting to pick up, all right, because a lot of a lot of countries are opening up. They realize that they cannot close forever, and I think there is this revenge what you call it, revenge traveling. It's the term that I just created off my mind, so it's not a correct term. Like, people have been locked down for so long, and then now countries are opening up, right? They will definitely want to go into traveling. So I think hospitality will have its cycle. If let's say there is a crisis like COVID similar, yes, hospitality will be affected. All right, but it will also have its bright spot. Okay. Yes, hospitality, is it a challenging? I hope I answered your question. Yeah, it will be it's very cyclic. Yeah, then it also depends on the economic, right? If the economy is not going to do very well, if let's say you believe that a recession is coming, people might be tightening, so they may not be traveling as often. All right, so good to have a few things, transferable, I cannot say transfer, it's good for you to build a few verticals so that you can pivot easily. All right, so if let's say you're in hospitality, you need to start to understand what roles do you function in a hospitality, and then the role that you are specializing in, can it be transferable to another industry easily? All right, so that is something that you may want to consider building your career towards, so that it is more crisis proof, it is more future proof. Okay, how is my career as a career coach? I think my career as a career coach is very humbling. Humbling is because I get to meet so many professionals from all walks of life and all industries, so I think it's very, very humbling. Yeah, so my session here today is really purely giving back. So if you have questions, yeah, I think relevant questions I will answer. So when someone asks me, am I a lesbian, it's not relevant to today's topic, so I'm so sorry, I'm not going to answer that. Okay, what's the standard pay for diploma people, so we know if it's too low? Okay, so that is a very broad question. All right, so to help you I'm going to give you some questions so that you can do your research. So the first question that you're going to ask yourself is, which industry are you looking at? Okay, second is, what type of role? Right, so I do have diploma professionals who are earning decent because they are in a tech role, and then they also upgraded themselves. So that means to say they take up certifications to upgrade and upskill themselves in a specific role. So they do not, their formal education is, the highest qualification is diploma, but after that they did some they did some certification to upgrade themselves in specific roles that they want to do, and their pay can be comparable to those with degree holders. All right, that's one. Okay, so the type of industry, and then the type of role, and also the organization does play a part. Unfortunately speaking, I think in Singapore context, if let's say you are working in a more, let's say you are working for the government, so ministries and stat boards, right, it is still very paper qualified. There's still a certain ranking for different qualification, so then you are bounded by the pay grade. Alright, so I cannot tell you the standard pay because it varies. Alright, so those questions I gave you, I hope it's something that will help you to do your research. Okay, and I believe there is actually quite a lot of research out there. In fact, I think in one of my videos, one of my TikTok videos, you need to go and scroll. Who is that? This you got no name, you only have a cloud. Alright, go and look at one of my TikTok video. I actually shared with you a Singapore salary guide. Go and find that video. Okay, yeah, go and check it out. It's in my TikTok video. Alright, so hi everyone, thanks for coming in. I am talking about job seeking. If you have any questions, I think it's a good time for you to ask me. I'm a career coach myself. Alright, so I work with a lot of professionals from different walks of life to help them in their career planning. Okay, so just now initially before I started off with saying that you need to gain clarity, right? But career clarity as well as market clarity. Alright, so that is the first two tips for job seekers. Alright, no point jumping to find a job if you do not have clarity. You are just wasting your time. Alright, so that's the two tips. Now the third tips, of course, then we come on to things that you need to do. Okay, you need to start to build your career portfolio. Now what is a career portfolio? Take your pen and pencil and whatever and paper. Okay, start to write this down. Okay, you need to have your career portfolio. The first thing that you need to have in your career portfolio is a resume. Okay, whether you like it or not, alright, whether you like it or not, your resume is going to sell you before you can sell yourself. What do I mean? Okay, before the company call you up for an interview to give you an opportunity to showcase your skills and experience, right, before you go there to sell yourself, your resume, the document, the very boring piece of document, right? Yes, I agree, it's damn boring. It's damn difficult to do sometimes also, right? That document is what that sells you. So someone will be enticed to call you after they read the document. They read your resume in this case. Alright, so the first thing that you need to have in your career portfolio is a resume. Now, what is the difference between a resume and a CV? Okay, so traditionally speaking, CV, curriculum vitae, is a record of your entire career, so there is no limit to the number of pages. You can write as much as you want. Every single details in the job that you do, you can do that because it's a record. Alright, now but in today's context, when people talk about CV and resume, they are usually referring to this thing called resume, which means to say it's not a lifetime record. So usually we are looking at about 1 or 2 pages. Alright, so depending on your years of experience, if let's say your number of years of experience is less than 5 years, alright, then you should be looking at 1-page resume. Now if let's say your let's say your experience is between like 10 to 15 years, then you can be putting them into like a 2-page resume. Now anything more than 15 years, maybe you can look at 3 pages. But my word of encouragement is also to ask yourself, if you have more than 15 years of experience, or maybe you have 20, 30 years of experience, right? You need to ask yourself, those earlier on experience, is it relevant to the next job that you are applying for? Alright, because if it's not too relevant, you don't have to write too much about it. Okay? Alright, so that is to answer the question of how many pages my resume should have, or what is the difference between resume and CV. So I hope I have answered the question. Alright, so that's that. So one question that you must always ask yourself when you're writing your resume, so take a post-it and write this sentence down. Is everything that you're going to write on your resume positioning you for the job that you want to apply? Okay, so every time you ask yourself, every time you have this question, should I put this role and responsibility down, then my question to you is, will it help to sell you for this job? Okay, whatever job that you're applying for, your experience, your skill, does it make sense for you to write it down? Is there relevance? Okay, so it is always talking about being very relevant to the role that you're applying. So now can you understand why I say that the first 2 steps is very important? Because if you do not have clarity, your resume will be in a mess. Okay, so don't rush into writing a resume if you don't have clarity. So get that clarity part out first, and then go and write your resume. Alright, so resume should, everything that you write in your resume should position you for that role. Okay, now you need to connect the dots for your reader. Okay, so people don't care about what you do. Okay, people care about what you achieve. For example, sometimes a lot of people it is a very, very, very common mistake. So this is how they always write their resume. Prepare weekly reports. Okay, manage customers, manage different stakeholders, things like that. So they write down what they do. Okay, that is not good enough, because so what? Alright, so what? Okay, so what you need to do is elaborate a little bit more. Okay, so you need to tell them what you do leads to what outcome. Okay, so instead of writing preparing weekly reports, you need to elaborate. Prepare weekly reports for higher management to make business decisions that will drive sales revenue. That's a start. Okay, now if let's say you have numbers, then that's where you end. Prepare weekly reports for upper management to make business decisions to drive sales revenue, and sales revenue increase by how many percent. That is what people want to read. Okay, do you all see the difference? If you read at your resume right now and then you are reading like just roles and responsibility, that resume is not going to be a good resume. Okay, anyone who wants to read your resume must see what you have achieved, not what you do. Okay, alright, so that is the first thing that you need to have in your career portfolio, which is resume. Okay, spend some good time going through your resume, is because without resume you won't get your interview. Make sense? Okay, so you need to work on your resume. Alright, so any question? Okay, I'm gonna answer question by question. Okay, what is the value of NUS, I believe you mean NTU, degree versus Ivy League? Ivy League, I believe you also mentioned to overseas universities, right? Well, again, it depends on the type of organization that you are going to also. Okay, if let's say, and also the relevance of it. I think right now, formal education is important. Okay, if you're going into government sector, right, then yes, all this NUS, NTU, Ivy League degree will really play a good part in, the pay grade. Alright, but if you're looking at private companies, your formal education can only bring you so far. The next thing that people look at is how good are you at your job. Okay, you may be very good at your studies, but they also will be very interested to know if you are good at your job. So the second thing that you need to have in your portfolio, in your career portfolio, is a portfolio itself. Alright, so just now the first thing that I mentioned is resume, right? So the second thing that you guys should have is this thing called a portfolio or a digital presence. Okay, so I'm not a LinkedIn ambassador or what's not. So depending on the type of role, if let's say you are a tech person, so maybe you want to consider things like GitHub, Medium blogs, alright, to showcase your expertise as a tech person. Okay, so that is your digital presence, that is your personal branding. Alright, so you need to have that on top of a resume. You need to have some sort of digital presence. Why? Whether you like it or not, people search for people. Maybe you guys are searching about me right now. I don't know, right? So we all search for people one way or another. So when it comes to hiring, people do look at people. Alright, so the power is in your hands. Since people is going to look for you, you might as well give them something to look at. And you give them something that you want them to look at. Make sense? Alright, so create a good digital presence for yourself. And I'm not talking about social media, I'm talking about professional presence. So it could be a Medium blog, your GitHub. If you are digital marketing or you are a marketing person, then maybe you need to have a website that showcases your portfolio. Or if let's say you can use LinkedIn, alright, to build that presence, to build your thought leadership. Alright, so besides resume, the next thing that you may want to consider building is some online presence. Alright, so that will distinguish you from whether you are a diploma holder or whether your degree comes from a normal school, whatever. At the end of the day, people will be impressed if, let's say, you have that level of experience and you have real client project or real, working experience to share. Okay, so I hope I answered your question. We yet part 2. Okay. Hi Alvin, you're undergoing a SG United course. I suppose it should end soon. Okay. Do you recommend Okay, so do you need to upload resume on LinkedIn? No, you don't have to. Why? Because whatever that you write on LinkedIn is you already have your experience there. So LinkedIn is supposed to bring out another persona, another side of you, another personality, right? So resume is very boring. Okay, up to now resume still very boring. So you all don't need to waste too much creativity juice on your resume. Just open up a Google Sheet or a Word document. That is good enough. Alright, you don't have to spend money to create a fancy full resume because it is still an old school document. Now if you want to showcase a different side of yourself, maybe your creativity, maybe your if let's say you are a designer, you want to showcase the design aspect, then this is where you can use LinkedIn to help you. This is where you can use your website to help you. Alright, so you don't need to upload your resume to LinkedIn. Okay, if you are applying for jobs, okay, when you're applying for jobs, they will already ask you to upload the resume for that particular job application. So what I mean is you do not need to upload your resume and permanently put it accessible for everyone. Alright, so if you are someone who still values some privacy, you don't have to do that, and it will not make you any less marketable than the rest of the job seeker. So you don't have to. Okay, don't have to put your resume up in the public for everyone to access. Alright. Okay, so that is what you need to have on your career portfolio, resume, and a digital professional presence. Okay, so I don't need to know what you're tweeting. I do not need to look at your Instagram unless your Instagram is related to the work. Alright, so that is the second thing that you need to have in your portfolio. Okay, does any one of you have any question? Hi Isabel. I drink water. Every time talking, talk to myself always very thirsty. I had soup spoon for dinner, so this is my drink. If no experience how to write resume, you mean fresh grad? Okay, then you write your internship, you write your project, you write your thesis. Okay, you write your CCA, what do you do in your CCA. So if you've done volunteering work, that is something that you can write in as well. Thanks for asking the question, Isabella. It was a very good question. Okay, so I also just answered Pearly's question, right? Is it called Pearly? Yes, cover letter. Oh, every time someone asks me about cover letter, I must tell them story. Okay, in the olden days, long time ago, before our time, how people apply for a job is they will print out their resume and then they must put a stamp, glue a stamp and then send it with love, and then hopefully someone will open up the mailbox and then read the resume. Okay, so it was that long time ago, and therefore after when people print out their resume, they will also print out a cover letter. So a cover letter with the resume, seal it with a love, put a stamp, and then post it. That was how people apply for jobs. Maybe if you ask your parent or you ask your grandparents, they apply jobs that way. Okay, so but today's context, we don't apply job that way anymore. Just click of a button, internet, you can apply for 15 jobs or 20 jobs all at the same time, right? So is cover letter necessary? If you were to ask me to weigh in terms of priority, resume is more important than cover letter. Okay, so focus on your resume first, because resume is going to make you very frustrated already. Alright, so focus on your resume first. Once you have a good resume, cover letter is the new email. What do I mean? Now today after I apply for a job, right? Okay, so just like I mentioned, that, right? So another tip that you need to have is after you apply for a job right now, if you know the jobs, if you know who is the job poster, or you know the hiring manager, or you can find out who is the talent acquisition, my encouragement to you is to directly connect with them. And that's the reason why I do encourage everyone to have a LinkedIn account, because that is where most recruiters are. Okay, if you want to find jobs, right, you cannot not be friends with recruiter. Okay, that's where most recruiters are. So you would want to connect with all those recruiters. Ask them for their email, or if you can find their email. Okay, so when you send them an email, when you attach your resume, you will write something in the email body, right? You cannot be an empty email. Okay, so whatever that you write in the email will be the content of a cover letter. Okay, so you don't need specifically a cover letter right now, because nobody really reads them anyway. Alright, so just prepare a good resume, and if you are sending out directly to the hiring manager, the recruiters and what's not, then when you write an email to them, that's where you write a customized email message to them. Okay, so yes, cover letter is not the most important thing. Focus on your resume. Alright, so just a fun fact, do you all know how much do you know what is the time someone spent reading a resume? Anybody wants to make a guess? How much time do you think someone spent, a recruiter for example, talent acquisition for example, how long do you think they spend looking at your resume? Any idea? 5 minutes. I'm the famous Da Vinci. 5 minutes, you are a kind person. So kind. 5 minutes. Going once, going twice. Any numbers? Anyone? 3 seconds. Okay, 3 seconds. Almost very close. Okay, 6 seconds. Okay, so someone spent about 6 seconds looking at a resume, and then they will decide whether they want to continue spending more time reading your resume. And then they will decide after reading your resume, do they want to connect with you for an interview. Alright, so resume is very, very important. You need to have the relevant keywords, and then you need to make sure, you need to understand that resume is read by a few parties. Resume is first read by a machine, an algorithm called the ATS. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. Alright, you can Google about it, it's called ATS. Alright, so what you want to do, so a robot will read it first. So what the robot does, or the algorithm does, is that they will scan your resume with the job description. They will do a match. Okay, and then they'll see whether the percentage match of keywords is there. The higher the percentage, the higher the match lah. Alright, so if let's say a job has 100 applicants, do you think the hiring manager looks through 100 applications? The truth is most of them don't. They probably look at the top 10, 15 or 20 resumes. Alright, so how do you get up to the top 10 and 20? You have to beat the ATS system by making sure that you have the relevant keywords. Alright, so there are a few free ATS that you can try to use. Because it's free, it's not 100% accurate, but it will give you a very good reference. One of the free tools that you guys can use is this thing called Res Runner. Okay, I'm going to spell REZRUNNER, Res Runner. Okay, so they will match first. So that's the first thing you can do. After you have come up with your resume, match it with the ATS. Okay, after you match the ATS, you become the top ranker. Thanks for spelling it out for everyone. Thank you, Pearly. Somehow I can't type, but thank you. Alright, so after it matched and becomes the top ranking one, then it will go through, depending on how big the company is. If the company is big, it will go through the talent acquisition or the HR. Then they will read. Now my question is, do you think the HR and the talent acquisition will know exactly what you need to do in the job if they are not doing the job? For example, they are hiring for a data engineer, but they are not a data engineer. Do you think they know exactly what a data engineer needs to do? They don't, right? Okay, so how do they read your resume? Checklist lor. They look at keywords. They are also skimming through, oh, this guy have this on the resume, I think it matched the job description, about that. Then they will take out the resume, they go through one scan. Okay, 5 resume passed to the hiring manager. Okay, hiring manager, this is the 5 candidates for you to choose. When are you free to arrange for an interview? Okay, so the resume goes through a few hands. Alright, so that's why you need to be able to understand what is the purpose of the resume. Okay, so it is best not to, so I am famous Da Vinci, it's best not to put. Okay, anyway, just to let you know, ATS cannot scan photos. Okay, ATS cannot scan images. So how pretty, how handsome you are, the ATS, the algorithm cannot see, cannot read. Okay, so that's why I will encourage you to have a digital presence on, let's say, on LinkedIn or your personal website. Okay, because if they are interested in how you look like, they can go in there and see. Okay, otherwise on the actual resume, it is not a must to put your photo. Yes, you need more keywords. Okay, keywords is for you to pass the ATS. You need to elaborate more, is for the human being that reads your resume knows that you have the competency. All right, yes. Okay, so I'm just answering question and going through some of the tips. Which is better, promotion with a title or increment of salary? Well, this depends on what is your career goals for yourself. Okay, for some people, title is important. For some people, you can give me no title but give me good enough money also can. Okay, so it really depends on you. Okay, yeah, but generally some people still match title to pay, right? So promotion with a title, I would suggest you to learn to negotiate on this. Okay, usually should be increment of salary comes first, and then you can say, can I have a different title? But then again, it really depends what is most important to you. So I cannot answer for you, Kanashi, right? I can't answer for you because I do not have enough context. What are you going through or what you are looking at? Okay, but if I just purely talk about market stuff, sometimes HR will ask you what is your last drawn, all right, so that they will see whether they can match it, or they can, how much budget they can have, whether they can pay you. All right, so if you are looking at just that, then maybe increment of salary will be more important than just a title. Okay, but it really boils down to what you want. Some people do prefer a title over salary increment. Don't be surprised. All right, so every one of us have different needs. Okay, okay, any other question? Okay, cool. Thank you, David. Yeah, you need to do more. Okay, question. Okay, cool. So I've been talking so much, right? I hope you are taking down some notes and some of these are useful for you. Okay, so the next few things that you guys may need to be prepared, besides having your career portfolio, will be understanding the market rate, right? But that market rate I covered earlier on, which is market clarity. Just now I think I saw a question that is related to pay, like fresh grad one. Okay, yeah, I think I missed it. Do you need to customize resume for every job? Okay, if let's say you are applying for customer service is a genre by itself, right? Then maybe you just need to have one resume targeted at customer service, but you cannot have one resume targeting at customer service to operation to customer sales, for example. Okay, so one resume should be targeted for one type of role as much as possible, because if you already spend time customizing your resume, that should be a good resume to go for that particular role. Okay, so when you say customizing resume, you should be customizing for the type of role, so you shouldn't use one resume to apply for 3 different types of roles. All right, so that's for customization. Okay, oh yeah, just now I did saw this but I haven't answered. What stamp? Stamp is the post stamp lah, the few the post letter kind of stamp. What is the market salary for fresh grad degree holder nowadays? I think it's starting at about 3.2, 3.5. Yeah, I think it has raised, but I also tell you it's very subjective to the industry and the role and the organization. SME, smaller size company definitely will not be able to pay as well as MNC. The benefits, the perks will definitely not be as much. All right, so plus minus, I think it's between 3 to 3.5. Yeah. Okay, I think I've answered those questions. Singapore Airlines, are you the real Singapore Airlines? Okay, right? So yes, I have. Oh yeah, you retyped the question. Okay, so yes, I hope I answered that question. SME. Are you referring to SME for fresh grads or what? Fresh degree holder. Hi everyone, thanks for coming in. I have another 10 minutes or so before I end today's session. Usually I allocate 1 hour for live session. Okay, so SME for fresh grad. I think it's also about that, about 3.2. But they definitely may not be as much perks as compared to MNC. Okay, MNC usually will have other things like allowance and what's not, but it really depends on what some people will like to have. So some people will ask me, should I apply for SME or should I work for MNC? Okay, so you need to know the difference. Now, one big difference is this. Now, if let's say you work in an MNC, because the resources are more, there are more people, so everyone will do very specific job. So maybe the entire accounting, right, can be broken down into 5 different people doing different parts of accounting. So everyone becomes very niche in one area, alright? But in SME, because the resources is not as much, you tend to do the end-to-end of the whole thing. Okay, so what is the benefit? The benefit for the SME, for the person who works in SME, they actually have a little bit more experience because they have the end-to-end understanding of how certain role works. But for MNC, it may be risky. Okay, so this is something that I came across during COVID, especially for some of my small senior clients. Some of them are in very high level positions, so they have stayed in the company for 20 over years. So when they are over 20 over years, right, and they are doing the same job for 20 over years, the moment they were being retrenched, it was very difficult for them to find a job. Because number one, they have been gotten so used to getting the pay. So they spend 20 years in the same company, so their pay does increase every year, right? So that's one. It's very hard for them to take a pay cut. Secondly, is because sometimes they can be so niche in what they do in the specific role, right? If let's say they decide to go from an MNC to an SME, sometimes the SME won't hire them because to them you only know that one aspect of things. So there's pros and cons. So either way, you need to understand where is the gap when you are in the job, then you can fill the gap. If you are in an MNC, right, then expose yourself, expand your portfolio. Don't just do one vertical, do a few vertical to expand that portfolio or what it takes to be a really professional in that particular title. Now, if you are in a SME, then find ways to level up your game. Besides knowing the breadth of things, do you know the depth of things? Or are you able to push yourself to the next level? Okay, join a bigger company and to get different exposure and different culture. All right. Hi, Tai Ping. Employed, but I don't know if there's a minimum duration I should stay before I change job. Do not leave a bad impression. Why would you think that is a bad impression for you to stay? Oh, okay, I understand your question. Is there a minimum duration? Minimally, assuming it's a full-time job, minimally, I think 1 year. Okay, minimally, at this point in time, 1 year. Now, sometimes, of course, there are unforeseen circumstances. So doesn't mean that you need to stay in a job for 1 year. If it's affecting you in many areas, then don't do that to yourself. Like if you really need to leave the job because of whatsoever reason, you can leave. All right. What's important is you are able to justify why your duration there is so short. Okay, so if it's sometimes it could be personal. For some people it's health issue. Okay, for some people it's maybe they need to care for the family. There are so many reasons out there, and every one of us have very different reasons, right? So if all things are okay, then I will encourage you to stay about a year. Okay, because that is also where you get to understand more about the role, more about the company, network a little bit within the company. All right. However, if let's say it happens to be a very toxic environment, somehow it's not going to work out for you, it's affecting you tremendously in how you function on a day-to-day basis, right? Then don't force yourself to stay for 1 year. Okay, then I think you should be on the lookout. Okay, yeah, so this is just being very fair here. So I hope I answered your question. Yeah, talk many that's my job here. I'm supposed to be here talking and talking and talking. And I hope whatever I'm talking makes some sense and some tips that y'all can start working on. Alright, for me, I do create some resources that is free for you to use. Like for example, I have some career guides. My career guides are free to download, which you can go to my website to download. Okay, so you guys can find me on various social media in my profile. So just go to, on TikTok, you go to my profile, hit follow me, alright, and then there's a link whereby there are different, you can find me on different platforms. So there are free career guides that you can download. I write a lot of articles, okay, and those articles, some of them may be useful for you. So those are free resources, and I do put in my time and diligence to make sure that whatever that I'm writing and sharing are all curated. Okay, so I would think that it will be very useful for you, especially in this part of the world that we are in. I'm Singaporean, I'm based in Asia, so I definitely know the Asian market a lot better than someone else who's not based in Asia, for example, right? So all these resources are free for you to use. So I will actually encourage you to go and download them, if it helps, right? Yes. Should you rush from internship should you rush for, FR is for, FR is from, should be for lah. Should I rush for internship as a year 1 engineering student? You know what? You should do as much internship as you can as a student. Okay? Yeah, why? Because this is where you will get a lot more understanding what kind of industry, because as a student we are just purely studying, right? One of the mistakes that I made myself when I was a uni student is back then we didn't have this concept. Nobody taught us, or nobody advocate this. So usually in university we only do one internship, which is during year 3. Okay, so I was an engineering student. I was from NUS, so it was a 4 years direct honor course, right? So the practice was you usually do internship on your 3rd year, and nobody really taught us that, you should explore and things like that. At least I do not have that environment that taught me that. So if you ask me, for you who you are still studying, right, I really encourage you should fully make use of your university life. You can play, please play, all right? I'm not a boring person, please play, all right? But I think you should also have enough allocate time, okay, to do internship, because that's where you can explore various industry and various role in the engineering scene to see whether you want to be an engineering practitioner after you graduate. Alright, so then I shared this tip with my younger brother. So when he was a university grad, he actually did a lot of internship. So he did so his course is a 3-year course. So 3-year course means you have 6 holidays, right? So every holiday he does an internship, either a 1-month internship or a 3-month internship, and that actually built up his experience. So for those of y'all who are tuning in and you are fresh grad or relatively fresh in the market, doing all this internship will really help you very much. Okay, and of course it will help you in your pay also. People will not see you as a fresh grad. People will really see you with someone with some sort of experience. So you versus your peer, you will definitely have an advantage over them. Alright, so yes, please go and do more internship. And I think university right now have a lot more support. They have career center, career services, okay, and they are always doing industry partnering. They call it industry relation, something like that. Okay, so go and leverage on all these resources in university because they are completely free. Alright, so if you are a student, you probably will also be able to get a career coach to help you. Alright, and all these things are FOC for you. So go and do it. Alright, truly deaf. Right, do it. You should do it. Alright, you can play, but I think for the sake of your career, so that you know whether this is something for you or not for you, do some internship. Don't hear me say, and engineering is not for me, because I have done it before. So I did a career switch. So, but engineering could be for you, right? Okay. Most of your intern offers want you to work during semester though. Then negotiate with them lah. Do they allow you to do part-time? And then you still can get part-time allowance, right? Okay, so learn to create condition for things to happen for yourself. Okay, it is not just one directional. You need to understand, hey, is there a way that I can make the best out of this? But of course, after the internship and you know that this is not a path for you, if you notice that this is not a path for you, then you can decline politely. But if you feel that, hey, it's still something that you enjoy, you want to continue learning, then continue and see if they can work out a work arrangement for you. And of course, it must be something that you can manage, right? Okay. Alright, so what am I doing before a career coach? I run my own business. I'm still doing career coaching. I'm still running my own business, and I do a lot of adult training. Okay, so I train adults in areas of communication, sales, and leadership. So, and then right after I graduate, I did management trainee. Okay, so back then it was a very popular term because management trainee means they rotate you around different departments. So sometimes called Saigon warrior. So you get to taste of. So they are training you to be a management. So they rotate you across department. So I came out from engineering, then I went into beauty. I was in beauty and fitness, health industry, and then subsequently I have always been in the education space. So I have been in the education space for over 10 years. Yeah, just different aspect of education, but mainly still in education. So I worked with teens before. Currently I'm working with adults, and I also volunteer a bit of my time with various community. Yeah, so for example, I was from NUS, so for 1.5 years I was serving as the vice president of the engineering alumni club. Yeah, so sometimes I do go back to do mentoring for NUSS program, something like that. Yeah, okay, so that is that. So to sum up for today's session, thank you for those who are tuning in. All right, so some tips for job seeker. I just going to do a quick summary. Number one is sit down with yourself to really understand, to gain some clarity on your career direction, your career goals. All right, even your career expectation. What kind of environment do you like? What kind of style of communication do you prefer? What kind of boss are you looking for? Okay, what are the attributes of a boss that you want to work with? All these are important. Okay, so personal clarity, that is the first thing. Second thing, when it comes to job, before you really jump straight into job seeking, is understand the market. You cannot not understand what the market needs. So one thing that entrepreneurship taught me is you need to understand what the market needs, because there are so many times I see entrepreneurs loving their product and ideas so much, but they forget that is not what the market needs, and that's the reason why their business will fail, because there's no traction. Okay, so you need to understand the market. And how can you start to understand the market? Start from your industry, what is happening in the industry, and then with Industry Revolution 4.0, with all the disruption coming on, how is your industry going to be affected? Okay, after that, scale down to how is it going to affect your role in that particular industry. Okay, so that is something that you need to gain clarity. So how do you gain clarity? You can read more reliable sources. I say reliable sources. So it could be news, it could be talk to practitioners who are in the space. Okay, so network. Okay, if let's say you want to understand how the supply chain industry is changing, then you talk to people who are working in the supply chain. Alright, don't talk to people in the finance trying to understand supply chain. Sometimes, we need to be very smart about it, right? Okay, so market clarity. After you have personal clarity, after you have market clarity, this is where you move on to have doing up your portfolio. So doing up your portfolio, just like I mentioned, you need to do up your resume, and I gave you a couple of tips, right? Okay, a couple of tips that you must match your resume with ATS. Okay, ATS is applicant tracking system. Okay, the number of pages, keep it within 2 pages best. All right, make sure that you connect the dots for your interviewer. Okay, so for example, you need to tell them what you can achieve. Don't tell them what you can do. All right, nobody cares about what you can do. People care about what you really achieve from what you do. Okay, so stats, figures are very important. 4 things that you can, just blabbering out non-stop, right? 4 things that you can help to quantify your achievement. This is so important, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to quantify your achievement. How can you quantify your achievement? Does your role help to increase the company top line? That means increase revenue. Does it help the company to reduce costs? Okay. Does it help the company to increase productivity, efficiency? And lastly, does it help the company to provide amazing customer experience? Okay, companies only care about these 4 things. So does your role, so look at your role, look at the impact of your job, and how does it help in achieving one of those for the company, and then that's where you can start to quantify. All right. Now, besides the resume, cover letter are not the most important thing, so focus on the resume, because I'm sure resume is going to make you very frustrated already. Okay, so focus on resume. Cover letter not so important. Okay, then after that, then it's good for you to have a digital online presence. Okay, so if you are a very techy person, maybe you need to have GitHub, you need to have, you may want to write on Medium blogs. Now, if let's say otherwise, you can just focus on having a profile on LinkedIn. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so that is a quick summary, and then I think we run through a couple of things like, salary. So do some market research, understand the market, what is the market offering for that role in that particular industry. All right, okay, I think I'm done talking, and it's 9:35. Okay, so what y'all can do, thank you so much for staying with me. I think some of y'all have been very active. Thank you, Pearly. I really don't know your gender from your name, but your name looks like Pearly, look like a female lady's name. So thanks for helping me to type like the ATS name, restaurateur, and things like that. Thanks for all the questions coming in. I know like some of you have been asking questions. I hope it has been useful, and I mentioned that I do have free resources that you guys can download and it's free for use. Please go and use them. Alright, I spend time curating and creating all this stuff. It's meant for us in the Asia market, or for you, if let's say any one of you want to come to Asia market. I think this is something that will be relevant. Okay, so what you can do is also just hop on to my profile, follow me, and then I have all my various social media link in my profile, and then yeah, we can connect right there. Okay, I'm done talking. I hit my quota for the day already. I cannot talk anymore, I'm very tired. Okay, but yes, thank you everyone, thank you so much. This video, you can watch it on replay, so I'm going to download it and I will upload onto my YouTube, so you can watch the replay on YouTube. You should be able to watch it by end of this week also. Yeah, I will upload on a weekly basis. Okay, so thanks everyone. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.